Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show here on Channel 1 Television. Here on The Point of View, we get the right guests, we ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We have a very special show tonight because today we are talking to a former Vice-Chancellor of the great Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. It's not very often that we speak to VCs. The last one we spoke to was Professor Adarkwa when he wrote his autobiography. We were at his home. Today, we are speaking to Professor Kwafo Adarkwa, who was VC indeed, between 2002 to 2010. He was both Pro-VC and Vice-Chancellor. He was the second Vice-Chancellor this Otumfuo worked with as Chancellor. We'll find out his life, his learnings, and his legacy in his new book that he's published and he's going to launch exclusively here on The Point of View. Stay with us.
After a long flight, Safari Homes gives you the peace to unwind. A short drive from the airport, convenient for all. For nature lovers, Safari Valley Resort is a hidden gem, surrounded by lush greenery and luxury amenities. A place where you can truly escape. Now, for water adventure, Aqua Safari Resort has it all. Jet skis, canoe rides, kayaking, and a visit to the estuary. And for more excitement, Safari Eco Park is the perfect place to get closer to some amazing animals.
Visit Safari World in Ghana, together bringing you closer to nature.
Welcome back. So tonight my guest is Emeritus Professor Kwasi Kwafo Adarkwa. Before we talk to him, here's a quick profile put together by my team. So my guest is in studio tonight to reflect on his legacy. His new book will be launched, I believe, in Kumasi very soon. It's a book I recommend you read at many levels, policy-wise, students, journalism. The new Minister of Education needs to get this book. Very, very powerful book indeed. Planning, transportation, urban planning, so many layers. Prof, welcome to the show. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Good evening.
It's a pleasure to have you. As Mary Elizabeth said, who am I that the mother of my Lord should come to me? I should be coming to you. It's good to see you, and you look fine. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thanks for asking.
Wonderful. So thank you for writing a book, because not many former VCs write. I think indeed, professors generally on autobiography, there are not too many. The ones I've personally seen, apart from Adarkwa, I think Mariam Adi and a couple of others. Achuayi and co. So just give me a sense of why you did this work.
Thank you, Bernard. I did this work primarily because I think that I've lived my entire life in Kumasi at KNUST. I've worked there from being a lecturer all the way up. I've retired, I've done some contract appointment with them, and I think in a sense I've seen it all. And if you take all the stakeholders in the education space, the students, the faculty, the administrators, and so on and so forth, I think I'll be speaking to don't give up. That's the whole essence.
Wow.
Money has always been a problem. I'm happy you mentioned my school at Police Depot Primary School. You know the attitude of a barracks boy.
Yeah.
We've lived with those who have been put on remand, so we really feared nobody. So from Accra to Koforidua, if you know Koforidua very well, the central barracks, right in the middle of town, the cells were in the middle of the barracks. So we saw them every day. We took our bath with them in the public bath house and so on and so forth. So the essence was to tell them that, look, don't write those people off. They can also shine and become people of influence in society and useful to society. So that is why
I noticed the title. I was initially wondering about the title, then I realized that in almost every chapter, you use the expression against all odds.
Yeah.
So based on your poor background, against all odds, you're able to get into this school.
Right.
Based on, so it seems that seems to be the theme, the fact that to rise to the highest level, you can come from the humble beginnings.
Absolutely, absolutely. And these days, with the free SHS policy, we see a lot of those kids coming up. Somebody comes to first year, is unable to speak to you. When he sees a lecturer, he'll run away. Whereas those who are privileged, they call them DBs. You know them. When they see you, they'll come to you, ask you questions, wanting to know a lot more about you. And they sit in class with other people. They can't do that.
Yeah.
I belong to the first group. When I saw a lecturer, I couldn't stand. I had to go hide somewhere and so on. But gradually, that thing went off. And even then, when I became a lecturer, to see a vice chancellor coming, you have to sink into the floor.
Yeah.
It wasn't just an easy thing. But what I'm saying, the message is that, look, they may all be barriers at one point in your life, but move on.
So I'm going to do this interview in a different way. I'm going to ask you to talk about the tensions I saw in your comments. The first issue I saw was a policeman's son means that you travel across.
Right.
So you don't have a very long time to form long relationships at one place.
Yes.
So what may be a disadvantage can also become an advantage. Because I noticed that you relate to a lot of people very easily.
Yeah.
And you know a lot of places.
Yeah.
Just talk to me about that, because last week we were talking on air about being a son of a policeman or a pastor, where you have to be transferred. And they complain that before you make friends, you have to move. So how was it for you growing up, having to move from first, I think it was Upper West Akim or up?
No, Tessano.
Tessano.
To Koforidua. From Koforidua to Efiduase.
Yes.
From Efiduase to Nkoko.
Yeah.
Nkoko to Ahamansu, Uti region. Ahamansu to Angloga. Angloga to Keta. And then to Denu.
Wow.
And then to Navrongo.
You didn't even mention Ebri.
Oh, yeah, well, Ebri, yes. That's our hometown. So
yeah.
I didn't have to mention that. So this is what it has been. And what you said is absolutely right. In Navrongo, for example, I had friends who came from virtually every part of the country, just like I did in my primary school days here. You came to our class, the Baba Tongo, almost everybody was there. So in my siblings, a few of them speak Ga very well.
Okay.
Some speak Kasana.
Okay.
And then my two of the last three, they speak Ewe thoroughly.
Wow.
When they want to say something about you and you're around, they'll communicate in Ewe.
Meanwhile, you're Ikwapims.
Yes. Absolutely, it's crazy.
Wow.
So that's the sort of thing. But your point is well taken that we don't stay in one place for too long. Maximum 3 years, and then you are gone. And you remember I mentioned situations where I had to come from Cape Coast to Accra and then to Big Adan to join a boat at about midnight. Died? Yeah, I nearly died. No life jacket, nothing. Yeah. You got to Anyanui, there were no vehicles. You had to be bitten by mosquitoes for a long time. Yeah. And then about 4 a.m., 5 a.m., you get a vehicle that will take you to Angloga. Okay? So that has been the life I've led.
And the other point around that is, it looks like providence, because to be an effective planner, you need a sense of space.
Right.
And I've been told, and I believe this to be true, that most people are born and die within a 30-kilometer radius. But nobody can say that about you, because you've lived in all kinds of places. How did that help in your work as a planner?
Very well, very well. I'm happy about this. In the classroom, the kids wonder who this person is, because everywhere you tell me it's your hometown, I'll begin to ask you questions. Which part of Navrongo? Because my brothers went to Balobia school, for example. So when you do that and you know their name, they become very cautious. They don't misbehave. Okay. At the point in time, I was writing in this book that we had a membership of academic board to be 150. You can imagine it, full professors, and they're all there. When you mention one person's name, that's the end. It becomes quiet. He knows, the guy knows me. So that is the kind of thing I do. And as a planner, as you said it properly, I've worked in Bogatanga. I did a bit of work in Ho, and then around the Lake Busumtree area, and some other towns around the Kwai in the Eastern region. So it's helped me a lot. When you go to Navrongo, Bogatanga, Sandema, Fumbisi, you go to Ugantu, for example, around Tumu, the plot sizes are very, very small. They are not small. They are different from what we have here. Yeah. Previously, we used to have 100 by 120. Now it's changing. Now even in Tema, people are building with 70 by 70. Wow. And I wonder how is that done? When you are in your bedroom, the setback is very small. So you overhear somebody talking the other room, the other house. This is not good. But that's what planning has taught me. That look, the needs and requirements of our people living in different parts of the country needs to be respected.
One thing I noticed again, when you went to infant primary school, you made a very interesting point about the difference between those of you who went to the public middle experimental schools and the guys who went to the preparatory schools.
Absolutely.
That it took a while to catch up.
Yeah.
Now, my concern is that today, that gap is getting bigger. Where if somebody goes to a public basic school, the person who went to a private school may have a better advantage, not because the teachers in private schools are better, but because supervision. But even, I was intrigued that even in the 60s, when you go to a school like Ifansipim, if you went to a public basic school, there was a little difference between you and the
not little, there was a lot. They had been exposed to French, a bit of Latin. Some of them did music. And look at me, from Aburi to Cape Coast, I knew nothing about French, I knew nothing about Latin, and nothing about music. And yet, I had to sit in the same class with these people. Yeah. They had a very good command of the English language. I had a very limited vocabulary, okay, and so on and so forth. So the difference was clear. But as we moved on, it tended to become narrower and narrower and narrower. At the university level, everything was gone.
I'm not sure which of the two churches will claim you, because in your story, I see Presby, then I see Methodist. I see Presby and I see Methodist. So I'm not sure which you are now, because you went to a Presby school in Aburi, but you went to Infantimus, a Methodist school. Yeah. In Tech, you are in a Presby church, but I see Methodist things throughout your life. So when your dad died, for example, he was buried in a Methodist church. So what are you?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that the good thing is that we all belong to Christ. That's the most important thing. We all belong to Christ. And we have one God that we serve. Yeah. It's just the mode of service. And there's no doctrinal differences at all. And I like the Presby Church a little more because they speak a lot of tree. Yeah. And you know, when you're hearing the word and it's in your language, the meaning is very, very different. Yes. It affects you differently. Yeah. You pick up some of their songs, and if it's not infantive, if you pardon my expression, it's not in English, but it's in tree. When the words are read to you, if you're not careful, you cry.
It's different.
It's different.
And of course, being a typical Equapim, who are typically more Presbyterian than the Fanti. In Fanti School was interesting. Just a quick point around. It's supposed to be the #1 school in terms of age in Ghana. How special was it? Because I saw a list of your mates. Former Vice Chancellor, former Vice President, Emisata was your mate. Yeah. Some very prominent, Tambru Butler was your mate.
And then Frank Bicham.
Former GBA. Was Nanan Kobnan Ketia your mate?
Yes, he was my mate. He was in Locust Swaiza.
But you mentioned you didn't mention his chieftaincy name in the book.
No. Well, did you sing the class list?
So this was 1969.
Yeah, well, actually 1964.
64 when you were in Form 5?
No, Form 1.
Form 1, 1964. Yeah. What was special about the Fansim School?
At the time, I don't know what happened, but my headmaster at the brewery at the time just called my mother and said that, look, let your son go to Infansville and let him become a scholar. That's all he said. So when the results were published, she said, no, my husband is not here. I didn't have money. So she went and complained to her brothers. So they mobilized and said, look, whatever it takes, against all the odds, this young man should go to Infansville. And that was what took me to Infansville. Wow. I remember we had to travel from Nsawam all the way through Swedru to Infansville. I knew nobody there. So that is what I mean by against all the odds.
You made a point about you in Infantsville and the sciences. And I think you said that they had wanted to change their approach to bring in other courses, but you felt that decision would not be good because when you looked at entry to university, maintaining the pure, can you elaborate on that point?
Yes. The point is that in Infantsville, you're allowed to do geography, economics, maths. And my teacher, Mr. Chonka, said, no. Don't do the geography. Go and do physics, chemistry, maths. I said, no, this is what I've been admitted to do. So it was difficult. And it was simply because if you went to KNUST, you wanted to do civil engineering. They knew nothing apart from physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Okay? General people forget about it. And then luckily, my math was also very good. Okay? So that was what I had my mind on. I could have gone to do the sciences. Van Spin would have allowed me to do that. But I felt that having started the geography, economics, mathematics, I ought to stick to it. Plus, I wanted to do building technology at the time. Now it's called quantity surveying and construction economics. And to do that, you needed physics, chemistry, maths. At the time, Van Spin had no scope for those who did geography economics and maths. No, sorry, KNUST had no scope for that.
Yeah.
It's only recently that we've opened up a bit, and so those who do geography, economics, maths are allowed to do quantity surveying. So that was what happened. I had my mind on the entry requirements rather than just simply enrolling on a program.
So were you the first A-level batch that did the combination
Yes.
Geog Econs Maths?
Yes.
Because I did that in Pre-Sec 2.
There were 3 of us, one Nigerian.
Just 3 of you?
Yeah, one Nigerian, and then one guy who is now an accountant in secondary Takoradi.
How versatile is that combination?
Oh, it is. It is. Because look, when I went to KNUST or UST at the time, I found myself very, very versatile in all the courses. A few people struggle with the drawing. And remember the first year we did the same course with architects, and then the quantity surveyors and construction economists, and the planners. So everything to do with structures, bending moment diagrams, we did them, drawings, and everything. So if you give me an architectural drawing now, I can interpret it and make very useful contributions. And I found that wouldn't have been possible, but for the exposure to technical drawing in advancement.
Wow.
So I think that combination for me is very, very useful, especially if you don't know where you are. Like Ghanaians will say, one leg here, one leg there. So we had it's called the class Lower 6 Maths, M-A-R-T-S. Okay, so mathematics with the arts. So that was what
I'm surprised more secondary schools have not followed Francis method where you can do technical in addition to science, because I was interviewing a computer programmer recently, and he said the technical part of the Francis science helped you even at higher levels of engineering because of your spatial perception.
It's true.
It's surprising that more schools haven't done this, where they separate technical from grammar. In Francis has that unique combination, even up to today. Maybe GSTS and a few others.
GSTS has it.
Yeah.
But I think that if you want a more comprehensive education across the board, then I will go for Achimota School.
Okay.
They are very good with the with the arts, the humanities, and then the sciences. So talk to an average Achimota guy, you see that the guy is broad-based, just like advancement. But advancement, the tendency is that it's becoming a science school.
Yes.
And therefore, all the efforts are directed at those who do science.
And this other was more arts, which is why they became more lawyers.
Yes.
And you guys were the scientists.
Yeah. So that's it.
Interesting. We're talking to Professor Adarkwa, who's an emeritus professor, former VC of KNUST, and former Pro VC as well. He's launched a book, or he's launching a book, his autobiography, with too many interesting things to talk about. And so just bear with us as we enjoy the book. Now we're doing this so you get the book to buy. It's a real must-read for many, many levels of people. Just wanted to wrap up briefly on planning. It seems to me that you did not plan to be a planner. Forgive the pun.
No, that's right. Remember, I've told you that initially I wanted to be a quantity surveyor.
Okay.
But when we went for the interview, those days we had interviews at the School of Administration. There were 2 old boys on the panel. So they saw me and said, but you cry, why? If you pardon the expression. You have geography, you have economics, you have maths. Why do you want to go and do this? And I said, well, I knew some old boys who had done that, were very successful. I said, no, we will offer you admission to do planning. And that was how I ended up in planning.
Wow.
So even I remember that towards the end of first year, I made efforts to change. And at the time, our dean, Professor Buckley, a white guy from the UK, he said, no, we had a contract with you to come and do planning, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
And see, he was also very careful, because if he had acceded to my request, a lot more would have happened. They'll be crossing the carpet.
Because it was a new program.
Yes, a new program.
But in hindsight, I think we needed more planners much earlier in our development, because a lot of our problems today are problems of lack of enforcement of plans. Do you not agree?
Yes, I agree with you. The enforcement, we're just talking about the attitude of Ghanaians.
Yeah.
He knows that where he's placing or locating a kiosk, it's not the right place.
Yeah.
But he will do that just because of personal interest. I live in an area in Kumasi where an itinerant preacher comes from between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. He says he's doing that to get some money before he goes to work.
Oh, Lord.
He puts a bowl there and starts with a speaker, disturbing everybody.
Annoying them.
Yeah. And we spoke to him. He says, it's true, he needs money. So we said, don't do that again. If you do that, we're going to issue a writ against you and you go to court. That was what stopped him. And the lady supplying the electricity, we told her that, look, if you tolerate this again, you go together with the guy to the court.
So it means in Ghana, we are just not serious with sticking to plans.
No, we are not. We are not. And even in parts of Accra, if you've been able to visit parts of Accra,
yeah,
you'll be walking along what appears to be a road, and all you see is that you're in somebody's house. We saw this in several parts of Accra. Kumasi is the same. We're just sharing a view that 2 weeks ago I attended a funeral at Ashtown.
Yeah.
And I was shocked with what I saw. And this is a town that has known planning for several years. They are making no efforts at all. Solid waste disposal, they dump it into the open drain. Water from the bathroom, everything is dumped into the drain. It's not good. Even if you have a vehicle, and most of them, you know them, they go to Hamburg and so on. They bring their vehicles, they have to park them along the street.
They can't even enter their own house because there's no straight line.
There's no straight line, there's no space. It's not even a lane. A lane is about 8 feet. No, you can't do that. So we have a real problem on our hands. We have good laws in the law books, but implementation is also a major problem.
Was yours development planning or spatial planning?
Spatial planning. What do you people call town planning? Because my degrees were in urban and regional planning. So I didn't do spatial planning. Even though I can work as a development planner. Yeah.
I look at Ghana and I'm told Tema is one of the few properly planned towns.
It used to be.
Are there any more?
No. I don't think they are anymore.
Oh, so Tema is not even, in your view, not even well planned?
No, it used to be well planned. But now, as we speak, Tema has lost that image.
So there is no well-planned
Maybe
city.
Akosombo to an extent. Akosombo, Tema, yes. To an extent, yes.
But that's a pity, isn't it?
It is. With all the planners and with all the plans that we have produced as a country, why should we be in this state of
Particularly when some of the regional capitals came much later in our development.
Yeah.
So I think you made reference to Bolga, Ho, and a few others.
Yeah. Sunyani, Bolga, Ho, and I think to an extent, Sekandi and Takrady.
And yet, they are not following the spatial plans.
Well, some of them, Sunyani, for example, is very, very, very good. They've kept to that feature. And for a very long time, it appears to be one of the neatest towns in Ghana. They've kept to that image. But if you come to Koforidua, maybe it's not too bad, but we could have done much, much, much better. Sekandi Takrady is about the same. So all I'm saying is that the second generation of regional capitals, unfortunately, most of them are towing the way of the traditional towns.
We'll take a break. We're speaking to an emeritus professor who has many credentials, including being one of our foremost spatial planners. He's also been VC of one of Ghana's most important universities, and his reflections have been captured in his book, Against All Odds. We'll come back and talk about more issues. Stay with us.
Fire pomudi ni agobi Ghana fu ni age efri say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me de go me jollof mu ni mi sti wa hodoma e ma ne dance
Stanley the barbecue the go on
sankofa natural spices and one you use 100% natural said the happen
Adofo mamunye huge mistake sankofa natural spices the
FDA agi ejedi nkratu yatu.
Welcome back. My guest is Emeritus Professor Kwasi Kwafo Adarkwa, the 8th Vice Chancellor of the KNUST. In a tradition of highly distinguished VCs, he took over from the great Andam. We at Legon heard a lot about Andam. That's one of the programs introduced, and it's very clear Adarkwa continued with the works Andam started. He was succeeded by Ellis. There was also a breed down so, and then I think Dixon, who's the current, I think the first female KNUST Vice Chancellor. I am intrigued by your work in the road sector. You actually had a job with Department of Urban Roads. Feeder roads, which nearly took you away from the university.
Thanks to the late Professor Kwame. He said no.
But you enjoyed that work?
I enjoyed it.
And to the extent that your inaugural lecture was on dusty roads, rickety trotros,
and survival.
So what is it about roads that intrigues you? And what were you trying to say in that lecture?
Okay. What I was trying to say was that if you take the whole of Ghana, at the time, there were close to 60% of us who lived in the rural areas. Their accessibility was impaired.
Yeah.
The supply of transport vehicles was also limited. And therefore, the surviving became a problem.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was that, to look at the nexus between these three things. And based on my work in the northern region in Tamale, based on my work on the Afram Plains, and then a lot of other places, what I wanted to, the view I wanted to portray was that, look, we may be in Accra, Sekandi, Cape Coast and so on enjoying, but when you go to the rural areas, the story is very, very different. I remember a case in Wa, for example, south of Wa, around Yala, Funsi area, where our vehicle got stuck at about 5 p.m. Getting out was a problem. Real problem. I'm talking about those old Land Cruisers with the hinges in front of them.
Wow.
The winch there. It was very, very difficult. I've been to places like Ugantu, south of, about 20 kilometers south of Tumu, where the roads, there are no roads.
No roads?
No roads. You go there, they only use this, what do you call a truck, four-wheel, non-motorized vehicle.
Wow.
With a pregnant woman on it in labor.
Sometimes ridden by a donkey.
Yes, it is really, really sad. So what I wanted to do was to find out whether we could do something about the situation. And this is what led to the Northern Region Pilot Infrastructure Project, where we build what we call single blade roads, not too wide, just to allow access for vehicles, taxis and so on to go into the corridor, move whatever they wanted to move, and then to the nearest hospital and so on and so forth. And luckily, we, at the end of the project, it was just about $2 million project. We learned a lot, that if you want to tackle rural development, it's not a matter of just transport and supply of transport vehicles or roads. A lot more would have to go into it. Water and so on and so forth are all very important.
But is it one of your beliefs that if we send a road to a place, inevitably development will come?
Absolutely, I believe that. Because what you see is that even when we build the roads, which are very, just about a few meters wide, not wide enough to allow articulated trucks to go to the corridor.
Yeah.
About a week after, the articulated trucks went, so the culvert head walls were broken and so on. So there was a real need for us to do that. And after that, you have the itinerant traders coming in on market days, and some places every 3 days. You had those who sell medicine coming in, itinerant traders selling all sorts of medicine. Yeah. The teachers could now live in the communities rather than move to Tamale and commute on a daily basis, and so on and so forth. So it's part of, or when you put a road in, it's part of a chain of other development issues.
So I'm sure you know I host the City Breakfast Show, and I can say to you that the most popular topic, at least in my shows, the top 3 will be roads. Bad quality of roads.
I'm not surprised.
Roads that need to be fixed, and people call in the whole day. Are you surprised that after how many years of living tech, less than 80% of our roads are motorized, are sort of are surface covered?
No,
a lot of
either bitumen surface or
and
asphalted.
Then, so my question to you is, are you surprised that people are still so unhappy about the quality of our roads, and that we are still trying to figure out how to pave and create good roads? It seems to be such a big problem.
It is. But you see, if we have our money and we're doing that, it wouldn't have been a problem at all. But when we are going to get money from some funding agency, economics becomes important. They don't want you to fix roads that are not economically viable. I remember in Tamale, we asked some of the villagers, so what do you want? Do you want good roads or do you want best roads? And they say, what do you mean? If there's something better than good, that's what we want. So we don't want you to come to us with a dusty road again. You use gravel to surface it, that's fine. But don't come to us with those things again. If Tamale people are enjoying asphalt or even bitumen surface, give us asphalt or give us bitumen surface. But forgetting that depends on the economics. How much produce are we going to haul from the corridor to the market? How many people would that road serve? And so on. So a lot of social, technical, and infrastructural requirements have to be assessed. And in doing that, economics almost invariably comes up on top.
Do you think the BRRI has done enough work on alternative materials for road surfacing, which should be cheaper? Because one of the problems with roads is that the bitumen, until recently, was even imported. So even though you have a lot of aggregate, the binding material was something we imported, and therefore, the cost of roads is very high. I think it's $1 million per kilometer or something.
Yeah, well, that's even better. Railway is about 4 million.
Yeah, but you don't fix railways in the same maintenance. So in terms of, my question to you as a transport, somebody who understands the built environment and mobility, what is the optimum combination of road, water, rail, and also what can we do to get cheaper material to pave our roads?
Okay. I think that, as you're aware, when we are building roads, we have those who prospect for the materials. If you want haulage distances to be very short, so we don't pay for them, then we'll be limited. On the other hand, if you have enough money, then you can afford to let them bring the whole material from a very long distance. In our case, because the funds are limited, what we tend to do is that we tend to prospect for the material and look for those that are within our immediate environs. And again, it's a function of traffic. If in the north, for example, or in upper east or upper west, you fix a road with an asphaltic surface, and you can only receive 10 vehicles a week, like they say in Ghana, it doesn't make sense. So because of that, we tend to strike a balance between the economic functions of the road and then the social functions of the road. But almost invariably, is the economics that is used in the assessment. And that is why. Remember some time ago, one Minister of Roads and Highways said, oh, now we are going to bitumen surface all feeder roads. It never happened.
You can't do it.
Yeah. When I was in feeder roads, I went on vacation and I was called to come because PAMSCAD wanted to do something in Koforidua. And I came, I took 3 days. When I went and showed the figures to my director, he saw it and said, oh, thank you very much. That was the end of the matter. You see? So the economics seems to be very important. Nothing stops the assemblies from paving roads. But look, if an assembly, district assembly or municipal assembly wants to pave a road, all the budget we give them from the DACF can only do about 2 or 3 kilometers a year. That is how bad the situation is.
Will rail be a better alternative?
Yes, but the investment cost is also very high. Remember I was saying that on the Tema Mpakadan Road, railway line, we're doing about $4 million per kilometer.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's
4 times for a road.
Yeah, very high. But I say again, the rail can carry a lot more load of freight
and requires less maintenance.
Yes.
So over a long
and then
term,
it's cheaper. So within a distance of 400 to 500 kilometers, the rail is a very good option. But if there's water, then that's the cheapest.
Some people. So water. So why do you think the Volta has not been more useful? Is it because of the tree stumps? Because the Volta cuts across the whole country, right?
Yeah. You see, when we work on the Volta Lake too, one round from Ada all the way to Yape, asking them why do you want the tree stumps not to be cut? They say, you see, apparently the fingerlings, what do you call
fish
them?
fingerlings.
Fish fingerlings. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They live around the stumps.
So it's easier to get them.
If you remove all the stumps, that would be the end of fishing on the lake.
So you have to always make a choice.
Yes.
Between
which of them do you want?
People's livelihoods as fishers.
Exactly.
Or effective transport.
Yeah. That is the problem. And then we don't have enough landing sites. You go to Hawaii, for example, the landing sites keep shifting. Or you go to Amankwatonu, the landing sites will keep shifting, depending on the level of the water lake. So you build a landing ramp here, next year it could be in the other location, and so on and so forth.
So water could have been cheaper, was it not for the impediments?
Yeah, a lot of impediments. Communication is also really poor.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this is interesting. Let's talk now about education. Now, VC of KNUST, you narrated a story, which was, it didn't seem to me initially that you were so interested in becoming a university administrator, because I think in the book you said there was a trade-off between academic progression and administrative work.
Right.
But it seems as if you had to at some point accede to taking those roles, almost like it was thrust upon you. Talk to me a bit about that.
Okay. Your observation is absolutely right. I think initially I went there to become a lecturer, and once you're a lecturer, you pray to God that one day you become a professor, a full professor.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I was a professor. So I thought that on one hand, I'd achieved this progress. So there was really nothing wrong with becoming an administrator. I remember when the late Professor Andam called me and said, look, I'm nominating you for Pro VC and I think you can win. And I said, look, what have you found about me? Was there anything unique about me? He said, no, I think you can win. And I went and won. It was then that I saw that, if that is the case. In fact, in the inaugural lecture, he insisted that I do it, and I do it quickly. So he encouraged me to do it because I had gotten to the end of the pinnacle, or if you would, I was in a crest now, from the SAG. I've gone all the way to a crest. And he thinks that now I can begin to look elsewhere. But even then, I have to continue publishing. Okay? So the trade-off was there temporarily. And even now, last year to this year, I've published about 3 or 4 articles. So it's still there.
As Vice Chancellor, you had to chair or be part of at least 29 committees. Talk to me about that job. A lot of people don't know this. They see the prestige of VC coming. Okay. It's crazy. 29 committees.
That's not one part of it. We don't meet every day. But the most dreadful thing is that when you're a Vice Chancellor, you read about 90 mails a day at the time. 90. 60% of which will be HR related.
These are memos?
Yes, memos. 90.
A day?
A day. See, what I was doing was that the kids will wait, those in the data room will wait. At about 5 o'clock or 4:45, they start bringing in the mails.
Wow.
And so by the time you're aware, you've been inundated by a lot of. I told them, no, I don't like that. Wow. 11 o'clock, bring me your 50. And if we're lucky enough in the before, between 4 and 5, before you leave, bring me the rest. Occasionally 30, 40. And you have to work on them because if you don't do that, the list or the pile will grow the following day.
Wow.
So that is that. And then in terms of the committees, the statutes indicate that you can be present at any of the committee meetings. Okay? And if you wanted to know what was going on, then they should bring you all the minutes. And you have to read all the minutes and give them comments. There's a joke around that during my time, I was virtually critiquing all the minutes that came to me. I said, yes, I had to do that.
Wow.
For me to know what was going on. So that is the situation. Right from council, you're a member of council, you come to academic board, you chair, you go to the welfare services committee, you chair. If you so desire for the senior staff, you can leave that to the Pro VC. But all the statutory committees, you find out that appointments and promotions, you were there, and so on and so forth. Remember that if you do that, you also create enemies.
I know.
There are people who don't talk to me up to this time. And I told them that, look, it's none of my fault. This is your assessment report. And based on this, I cannot promote you. If you so desire, wait for the next VC.
You are such a strict Presbyterian at heart.
I'm sorry.
It's very clear from the way you live that the weeding you did and the stickler for time and the modesty is very clear. I went to a Presbyterian school, so I can say this.
Oh, I see.
It's a very...
So do you find me modest?
Very.
Really?
In terms of achievements, you have to even be forced to talk about your achievements. So it was almost like with reluctance that you highlighted your very many achievements, I should say. My question to you is, I see generally universities are better run than our cities. I'll give you an example. I lived in Medina for many years. When I enter Legon, it's like I'm in a different world. When I come out of Legon, it's chaos. Tech as well is generally better planned. What can normal communities learn from universities? University communities. Are university communities the ideal world?
Not really, because if you look at the universities, we have statutes.
Okay.
I know they are very difficult professors. There was one guy at the KNUST who will write a memo to you on Monday with an A4 sheet, white one. Tuesday, he goes to a red one, and so on and so forth. The issue might be trivial, but he wants you to just acknowledge him, call him, and say that it's receiving attention.
It's called academic pomposity.
Oh, so at times when it happened, I just put a PA on it, put away. That's all. You see? So that's it. What it meant was that we could comply strictly to the regulations. So in the case of Legon, if you remember, your architects and planners initially were from the UK.
Yeah.
So they made sure that they put in development control proposals.
Yeah.
Stick to these.
Yeah.
Don't build your house. If it's a bungalow, don't come too close. And in Medina, you see people, the setbacks are about, instead of 15 feet, they're about 10 feet.
You know.
Somebody in his bedroom can overhear you talking, saying something about him or her. So that's the kind of thing. The discipline on campus in terms of physical development, works and physical development, is much, much, much better than what you see in the various municipalities.
So it's not something you can mirror. I've always wanted to ask this question.
We can.
Can we? Because university is a meritocracy, a lot of academics. Even though there's hierarchy, it's much easier to manage than a normal town, isn't it?
I differ.
You differ?
I was telling you that I had an academic board made up of 150 senior members. Maybe 50% of them will be professors. And you can imagine, before you go to an academic board meeting, you have to prepare.
Yeah.
Prepare very well. So virtually, you acted as a dictator. So you, Bernard, what's your view on this? What's your view on this? James, what's your view on this? Can we take a female view? And then say, can I sum up? Then somebody will say, no. So academic board
endless.
Exactly.
So you had to put your foot down, step on toes.
And do that.
There are more trees on campuses than everywhere. Again, Legon and Tech, so many trees. One of the things you notice, I went to a building at Accra. When I looked on the right side, this is on the Liberation Road, cantonments and the Laboni, lots of trees. Then you look on the left side, no trees. And there's a link between trees and affluence. So my question to you, how come all our trees are being cut everywhere else apart from our university campuses?
Well, university campuses, to cut down a tree, you need permission from the Director of Works.
Oh, Lord.
And then the grounds, yeah.
You need permission?
Yeah, you can't change anything.
You can't cut anything?
Yeah. When you go to Okodia Road, for example, if you know KNUST very well, previously we had bungalows sitting on 1.5 acres from the colonial times. It didn't make sense.
Like a governor's house?
Yeah, it didn't make sense. And you go into the house and there are 2 bedrooms. So what I said was that it was also constructed after the World War, and it was essentially asbestos. And nobody lives in asbestos houses this day. So we started demolishing them and putting duplexes there.
Correct.
So then remember, when the designs were ready, we had to submit the designs to the development subcommittee. Development committee saw it, and it went to council before council gave us the permission to do that.
Wow.
So that is one of the things that hold us in check. This committee system is full of checks and balances.
My 2 points for you between Legon. I went to Legon. I've always had a problem with Tech as to why you didn't maintain your architectural design, because Legon is Japanese. You can see the red brick roof. The design is the same for almost all.
Not Japanese. A lot of British influence too.
Yeah, but the architecture.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying. The architecture is consistent. In Tech, you do different designs.
No, we do different designs. Now we are trying to systematize them because all our roofs are now green color.
Oh, so now you're trying to do that?
Yeah, green color. And then you see the designs are built on the same campus. So people have the opportunity to provide inputs. Unlike Legon, where they can be built or imported from elsewhere, they come on, or you people are not interested in that.
No, but Legon, aesthetically, it's better to see uniformity, isn't it?
No.
So it's more diversity?
Students from universities in America, they come and they are very happy with KNUST because of the greenery. It's important.
No, but Legon has a lot of greenery too.
No, not as much as KNUST. And see, there's a lot. They call something smart city now.
Yes.
You need the greenery. New urbanism, you need the greenery. So that is what...
I thought the greenery in terms of the plants.
The landscaping.
No, I'm talking about the architectural design.
Our designs may not be uniform because initially the British came there and did a few designs and went away. And then we had people from Poland and so on and so forth. But the Ghanaian architects have now taken over. You should see the new building for the College of Art and Built Environment. You'll be surprised if we tell you that it was designed on campus in that college. The
other question I have for Tech is, I think Tech is the largest university or the second largest in terms of student population.
Second largest.
I see a lot of your students are in hostels though. I don't know why campus accommodation did not expand. So apart from the main halls, I mean, Legon has built about 5 or 6 more. Jan Nelson, Aka, and co. What is the constraint with that? Because I think you actually have more land, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Legon has more land?
No, yeah. We don't have, I'm doing a paper on that now.
You don't have that much land?
No. We are virtually on the edge.
Is it encroachment?
If you look at, yes. If you look at the images, satellite images, the sprawl has come all the way to the edges of their boundary.
So, because that means you've answered the question. Because Legon seems to have built a few more hostels.
We have done a few. We've used our pension contributions
to do some.
So you hear, I'm sure you've heard about Brunei.
Yes.
Baby Brunei.
These are the new ones that you did.
Exactly. But by and large, what we see is that a lot of the hostels are just outside the boundaries of the university. They are
so it's not an university community.
It's not part of the university community. You have to go through the boundary to get there.
Okay.
It's not, but people have found it viable. So we are talking about 85,000 students. About 20,000 will be distance learning students, and of the rest, we have less than 40% of them being accommodated on campus. So when you go to Bomsu, you have a lot of hostels there. Ivandi, Snit has hostels there for the kids. Okado has hostels there, and so on.
So it's a mixed model, campus,
mixed model,
and then also
more to satisfy our needs and requirements.
I'm surprised that Tech doesn't have as much land, because I always thought Tech was bigger.
No, Legon is a little bigger.
They've managed to keep their land.
About 14 kilometers square. KNUST is about 12 or so.
Wow, this is interesting. All right, let's take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about the lessons going forward. We're talking to a former VC of KNUST who's written a book which we'll be launching in Kumasi, I believe, on the 20th of March. And I urge all in Kumasi to go. It's a fantastic book to give you a good sense of history, the planning profession, education policy, discipline, lots of things in there. Stay with us.
In a fast-growing urban environment like Accra, safety is as important as the air that we breathe. Hear the real stories from those who now feel safe like never before with Response 1.
One night, I heard the glass shattering. Armed robbers had broken in. Before I could react, the alarm blared and the lights flashed, and Response 1 was already on their way. Within minutes, the security was at my door and the armed robbers had fled. I never want to be that scared again. And now I know with Response 1, I never will.
Don't wait for tragedy to strike. Protect your home with Response 1's monitored alarm system and our theft protection guarantee. Immediate response, real protection. Response 1. Stay connected, stay protected.
Life is a celebration of moments. Big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink adds a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva cocktail and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. This is still the point of view. Tonight, my guest is Professor Kwasi Kwafo Adarkwa. Originally from a brief but very interesting background because your parents lived at a place is Upper West Akim or is it?
As well, yeah, my grandparents.
So that road from Insawam taking you to used to be a very important trade route. So you're typically Kwapim, but he's a citizen of Ghana, lived everywhere. Navrungu, they knew everywhere. I mean, it's an interesting story. Yeah. So when are you launching this?
On the 20th of March. At the KNUST School of Business, Auditorium C, Block C Auditorium.
You're a member of the Academy of Arts and Sciences?
Yes.
So a lot of your friends would come?
I'm hoping so.
No, this is really good. Will you do an Accra launch? Not sure.
Not sure.
Let's think about it. Let's see how this interview goes.
Okay.
Because I could push the Accra agenda.
Okay.
Let's talk briefly about tertiary education in its future. Because of free SHS, we have a lot more students now going through the secondary. And I think the universities will start getting more pressure if they have not already. How should the universities prepare to both absorb and also improve? Because the numbers are large, some of the professors are saying the quality is a bit lower because there are so many people.
It's true.
How should the universities adjust to this new reality, which will not change because free SHS is not going to go away? How should the universities prepare for this?
Okay, on a few fronts. But the first thing would be to hire a few more faculty members.
Okay.
I think in most of the colleges, what they do is that they've broken, computer science, for example, a year ago or so, they had about 600 students. So they've been broken into two. Mm-hmm. Civil had the same thing. So what it is that today, the lecturer will teach the first group, the first batch, tomorrow he teaches the next batch. Mm-hmm. If you don't do this, you see the kids standing out of the windows, taking notes. And if a pressman picks this, we're dead.
It's not good.
So we will support, or we need to support the free SHS policy.
Yeah.
But let's also provide some funding for the institutions to get them begin to react positively to what is happening.
Yeah.
If you remember, at KNUST, our policy is in, out.
Oh, not out. Oh.
No, there's no in again.
Out.
Yes.
Oh, no.
The idea is that somebody coming to us from, say, Pusiga,
Yeah, first year.
First year, he knows next to nothing. He knows nobody in Kumasi.
He has to be in.
He has to be in.
Correct.
But we're saying that for the 2 semesters that you'll be there, take the time and look for accommodation. So that next year,
you know what
can
to
serve somebody from Uganda.
You're your own.
Yeah. So that's the philosophy. We need to do that. And I'm one of those who are championed the policy that let's enhance on academic facilities rather than looking at residential facilities. The two are important. Legon approach is very different. We don't have the funds to do the many hostels. Even if we do, we'd have a lot of problems. So if you've been to KNUST recently, there is something we call the medical village, where the nurses, the optometrists, and all those in the medical field are trained. We want to build hostels around that area. If we have money, that's what we'll do. And then we'll provide shuttle services for them to move to the campus. So I think that for me, and so far I haven't changed in that direction, what I'm suggesting is that it's better for us to spend more money to enhance academic
then everything goes around that.
Yes.
Because that's the main purpose of a university.
If you go to Michigan State, they don't care where you live. You go and register. If the course is in geography, you go to geography and take it. And that's the end. Okay? If you are going on a field trip, the lecturer tells you, meet me at this and Flint in front of the city hall at 2 p.m. on this date. And that's the end. You see? That's the sort of thing we need to inculcate, gradually build up.
Because once the academic grows, the others grow with
it.
So what do you think of the need for... We have seen a few private universities. Some of them are saying they are helping. So there should be some help for them. You know, I know public universities now have the sort of fee paying to help them because the foreign students numbers may not be that high. What's your advice to government around expanding university education? Is it more private, subsidize the private, or build more public? What's the best way to do this?
Okay, I think that given that for the public universities, we have some fixed infrastructure, subsequent costs will decline. But in the case of the private ones, they also need assistance. And their costs are rather increasing for the time being. So we're all into this massification. If that is the case, then I think that just as we also wanting government to come and assist the private universities, what they also say, telling government is the right call. The issue is that the funds that are currently available are too small to go around. But I think that in principle, they should also be assisted.
Finally, do you think we need a new capital city? The Nigerians had Lagos become too crowded. And when they started Abuja, a lot of people complained. But today, a lot of things happen in Abuja.
When was the last time you were in Abuja?
Not recently. It's changing? Oh my God, don't tell me it's become like Lagos.
Oh, okay. No, not like Lagos. But I think generally,
the
field we see is also coming up, where the workers villages and so on and so forth, they all deteriorate.
Same things.
But I think that the idea of having a capital city is nice, it's good, it's in the right direction. But where? You know,
definitely somewhere above Kumasi.
But my late boss said we should take it to the Western region, at the confluence of Ankobra and I think Atlantic Ocean also.
Your late boss?
Yeah, Professor Andam.
We can have 3 or 4 options and then we ask you to make a choice for us.
We'll do
based
that.
on your work.
We'll do that. But if you want it right in the center,
maybe.
No, right in the center of Ghana, it should be around Kintampo.
Kintampo area.
Yeah.
Because cities are places that spawn development, right?
Yeah.
So once you have a city, economic activity would, and the pressure on Accra and Kumasi will reduce.
Yeah. In theory, that's what should happen.
So if they ask you to advise on this, you could help.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I've been trained for.
I think you should. I think you should put a proposal
if they don't
together.
If they don't call you, what are you going to do?
Put it on the media, write an article, put it in a graphic. Because I think we've come to a point where Accra is almost unmanageable. I'll tell you this: because of the many small district assemblies, the mayor is now weak. So now you have regional ministers doing the work of mayors, and it's not just Accra because the assemblies don't have revenue generation capacities. So the city cannot be properly managed. And it's a phenomenon across. So maybe you need a new model and a new city where we can then say this is the future. So I don't know.
But the new cities will have to be subjected to our current laws and regulations. And you see, this model that we have in Accra and most of the other regional capitals, they are seen in most European cities. New York, can you imagine the mayor of New York telling Trump to hell with you? We are not going to abide by this.
But they are big enough.
Yes.
But here in Accra, it's too small.
I know. But the concept is that they should be such manageable sizes that development can be controlled and enhanced. So far, we don't seem to have that here, and that is one of the major difficulties. But that's a very good model. Abidjan and most of the Nairobi, most of them have the same structures. But I don't know what is wrong with us. We've not been able to manage.
Let's end with attitudes, because even though you don't see a lot about it, I can see frugality, discipline, modesty,
hard work,
and yes, very clearly throughout.
Integrity.
Yes, very, very strong on integrity, to the extent of even explaining how you bought your car, if you got a land. Why is that important, and why should we go back to that?
Okay, I think it's important because we now look at the community, the universities as townships. They are real townships. 80,000 students, 2,000 faculty, junior workers. So you're talking about an average town about the size of Nsawam or so, all in that small place. So a lot of news go around. The accounts clerk who raises the invoice, or if you would, the draft, the check, the officer who signs it, and so the messenger who carries it, the news will go around. So we should be very, very careful about those things. And I was lucky enough, I did a mission for FAO, as I mentioned in the book. And we spent 6 weeks, 3 weeks in Nigeria, traveling around, bad roads, and the market, seeing the market and so on. Went and did 3 weeks in Rome. When I came, my DSA alone was more than enough for me to buy a car. So I bought the car. And I made them understand that was why I bought the car. So if you came to me with money as a contractor, I'll tell you, no, I'm sorry. I don't do those things. But thank you very much. If I take the money from you, you are not able to construct the project or work on the project properly.
Wow.
If you give me the entire money, your whole contract sum, it will not be enough for me. So please, I appreciate
your money.
I appreciate what you're doing, but we'll see you.
Wow.
That's all.
And that's the way to go.
Yes, I think so. So all the core values you mentioned, they are very useful. Discipline, hard work, frugality, and so on and so forth. They are all
integrity.
Integrity is very important.
Amazing. It is in this book that you will find verse 3 of Lift Every Voice and Sing, which we discussed on the radio a few days ago, which is the I think the KNUST, I think it is your school anthem. Yeah, and I'll probably end with that. Very, very summarizes your philosophy. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Powerful, 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 powerful. Well done. Congratulations on your service to Ghana.
Very much.
Obviously recognized with the order of the Volta by President Kufuor. Get this book. Where will it be? The University Bookshop?
Yes. And then the other outlets. I understand that most people they don't like the soft copy. So we do a lot of the hard copies.
We want the hard, so we can cancel and color.
But can I say something too before you end?
No, go ahead.
We very much appreciate what you've done, the interview, and I'm extremely excited because you've read every line and meter of the book. I can see it from your questions, from the interactions and so on. So I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you.
Very, very grateful.
That is my work.
You can go very far.
May the Lord help me. We've been speaking to Professor Emeritus Professor Kwasi Kwafo Adarkwa, whose book will be launched on 20th March. Please go get a copy, buy for libraries, let the young Ghanaians, every politician must read this book, give you a better sense of planning and education. Thanks for watching. We have the budget on Tuesday, so it'll be economics a lot. So we brought you this before we go into economic craziness. So please enjoy this one tonight. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
and welcome to the Sports Roundup on Channel 1 TV with me, Benjamin Nketia, in the headlines. Hearts of Oak charged with violating GFA enhanced match day and safety and security protocols. Also, President of the Ghana Weightlifting Federation, Jerry Shaib, criticizes government interference in the federation's operations. And Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim insists the club will return to its former greatness. Let's get into the details of our stories now. Kumasi, Asante, Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak were among the clubs that secured victories over the weekend at their respective venues, marking a successful return of the Ghana Premier League after a lengthy break. The hiatus was triggered by hooliganism, which tragically resulted in the death of a dedicated Kotoko fan at Nswatre. Now, to manage crowd behavior and ensure safety, the Ghana Football Association collaborated with the Ghana Police Service to implement enhanced security measures, paving the way for the league's smooth resumption. We have more in the following report by Gabi Ofer.
The Ghana Premier League